Hi guys, welcome to the Socks for Mom podcast. I appreciate you stopping by. I am Becky. My name is Becky, and you can find me on Instagram as Socks for Mom and on Ravelry as Socks for Mom, and also on my blog knittingintherockies.wordpress.com. Well, I don't know about you, but I have enjoyed the last few days watching everybody's podcast about Rhinebeck. It just seems so wonderful and so incredible, and I really hope that someday I get to go. I especially loved Christy Glass's video that she took where she interviewed everyone coming in about their Rhinebeck sweaters. I saw several I wanted to add to my queue. So, what am I wearing today? Well, I'm wearing a turtleneck shirt because it's gotten quite chilly here, and I needed that, but I am wearing my finished mittens. Now these are the Mabanden. I'm butchering that name. I am so sorry. Ellie of Skandir. Here it is. Ellie of Skandir pronounces it. She's Norwegian, and she has this incredible Selbu Mitten Club that I'm participating in right now. And this was the first pattern release. And I worked madly on these this week because I think the next one is coming out November 1st. And I'm excited about that. But I want to talk to you today about stranded knitting because I have made a lot of common errors, I think, as I have worked stranded knitting. First of all, I love stranded knitting. It's one of my favorite things to do. It makes me feel like I'm painting when I do it, and I'll show you my favorite pair of socks. I knit these years ago. The pattern is Harika. It's by Stephanie van der Linden, and I knit it with Regia Petrol. It's like a very dark blue, and some Regia by Cave Fawcett, one of his landscape colors, I believe. Not sure. So I didn't actually do this color changes. It was all in the yarn. It has a corrugated toe, a corrugated heel, a Latvian braid on the top, and they're one of my favorite stranded things I've done. I have a lot of Fair Isle things too that I've done that I'll share in another podcast, but today we're talking about stranding, and I want to share some common errors that a lot of us have made. Maybe you haven't. That would be super great if you haven't, but I've made them. And so I have some mittens that I want to share you that I've made in the past. I knit my first pair from Terry Shee's book, Selbuvader. Selbuvader is the Swedish word for Swedish mitten. And I'm currently reading this book, the history part of it, for my master knitting program because I have to do a report on the history of knitting. And I'm actually interested, if any of you are Norwegian, I know that Ellie said something about the history in this wasn't quite right. So if you know anything that you can share about that, please let me know. So I knit these. This is NHM number 3 is the name of it. And they're beautiful. I love them. But I think the first mistake that I did was I knit them with a yarn that wasn't quite appropriate. because for mittens, I think it needs to be a hard wearing yarn, like a rustic kind of yarn. And I knit these with Knit Picks Stroll. And you can see there's quite a bit of peeling going on all over. And there's another few issues. There's an issue of where I did not catch my floats every 3 stitches, which I now do diligently. And so my fingers get stuck in floats, and that is my pet peeve. So I'm going to talk to you today about ways to avoid that. Now my next pair of mittens, I did a little bit better in the yarn choice. And I love these. I think this is a great Halloween mitten, or just autumn mitten. They're the cat mittens by, I'm not going to get this name right, Jorid Lindvik. You can look it up on my pattern page on Ravelry. But I knit these with Better Yarn, Lang, and Louette Gems. Still not what I would knit them with today, but it was a better choice than the Knit Pick Stroll, which peeled horribly. Now, this mitten also has some issues. Oh, let me show you my favorite part. The paws. The paws and the fish bone on the back where the cat has eaten the fish. These are such a cute pattern. But my thumb gets stuck in here because any of you who have knit thumbs, Colorwork, know that it gets pretty finicky up here when you're doing these floats. And I wasn't diligent to catch those stitches every 3 stitches, and so I've got my thumb gets stuck in it, and my ring gets stuck over here somewhere when I put these on. So let's talk a little bit about what we can do about that. Let me get these mittens back. So, one issue that happens a lot is along this edge here, which is a very traditional edge on a Norwegian mitten, where you have one row of solid and then you have another one with a fleck in it. Well, what generally happens when you get, and you're changing needles from the back to the front, from the front to the back, when you get right around here, it's real easy just to let your, it would be better to show you from the front, to just let your thread hang way back here and not catch it on these last 2 stitches. And if you don't do that, then potentially this stitch here can carry all the way across over here, and you get this strand going through there rather than a nice even float. So the way to prevent that is just to make sure that not on the rows that are flecked, because on those rows you are catching those last 2 colors on the last 2 stitches of your needle. But if you're on the solid row and you don't catch that white thread right there over here on this stitch before you go over, you're going to have a float going across that. And that's where you can run into issues. So that's just one little trick that I've learned that helps with this, and that makes this a nice even pattern down this. Now the other problem that I've had is, like I said, on the thumb right here, and the way I prevent that And a lot of you may do this already, so if this is redundant, I'm really sorry to be redundant to you. But, excuse me, I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Ugh, oh wells. I think you may be getting distracted by my cork board back there. There's my cork board. My daughter made that for me with wine corks, and I just keep swatches on it. So, back to the lesson. So it's the same thing on here. You just need to be careful to just make sure you catch those floats before you go around your thumb. Don't let them go more than 3 stitches. I know a lot of people say 4 is okay, but you get into float issues if you do that. So another thing I learned, when you knit a mitten like this, you start increasing for your thumb gusset, and then you get right about here and you put these stitches on some waste yarn. The thumb's not here at this point. You come back around, you go around, and then you do a backwards loop casting on 11 stitches right here. And then you continue knitting and finishing your pattern. And then you come back to the thumb. Hold on a second. So when you're on your thumb, you have to pick up those backward loop stitches, and you put these on double point needle or magic circ. And what I have found easiest for me is to use a little crochet hook to pick those up. It just makes it a lot easier. Now, some of you guys may do just fine with double point needles or whatever you're doing, but I just found using a crochet hook to pick those up is easier. So that's my color work tip for today. I love these. So I'm getting ready to cast on my next pair. I hope to knit it next week in the car going to Colorado. We're going up there to help our daughter move. I also have a lot of master knitting to do in the car, so we'll see if this gets done. But I knit this in Dell of Norway yarn, which is a Norwegian yarn, and it's Hilo, which is a nice rustic sport weight yarn. Now, my gauge is tighter than what Ellie had. Let's see. Well, I'm not going to look it up, but she suggests either 24 stitches or 26 stitches for a tight size and a 26 for a larger size. But my gauge is tighter because I have a small hand, and I knew this would fit me perfect as it ended up fitting. So for those of you who are working on your Selbu mittens in Ellie's club, it's so much fun, and if you aren't, you might check it out, because word is out that she's going to have a Christmas mitten knit along, and I'm real excited about that. So what I will be casting on next is the Nay mittens. I butcher names, I'm so sorry, especially foreign ones. But I will be knitting these in some more Hilo that I have. I'm going to be using green and white. So those are next on my list. The third pattern will be released November 1st. So I need to get a move on if I want to keep up. So what is next? Well, I will show you some acquisitions because I celebrated a birthday. Yay! It was a pretty significant one. And I got this yarn. Now, I have to tell you about this yarn. I was in a knitting store in Colorado, colorful yarns. And I was actually there to buy some hedgehog fibers. And I was trying to pick out the colors, and I heard this shrieking and this whooping, and the UPS man came in, and store people gathered around saying, "Is that it? Is that it? Is that it?" And he said, "Yes, it's finally here." Well, they were in the back hyperventilating as they were talking about this yarn. "Oh, that color's pretty. Oh, that color's pretty." So I ran over to see what all the excitement was about. And this is the name. She's in the Netherlands. I won't even try to pronounce that. It's very hard to get her yarn, they said. In fact, they may be one of 2 companies in the US that carry it. I'm not sure about that, but they were saying that this would be sold out really fast as soon as it went up on Instagram. And they were only going to let Colorado people get it because they knew that people from all over the states were calling to find out when this was coming in. The colors are gorgeous. They're very saturated. It was hard to pick which one. This one is called Tiny Dancers. And this one is called Denim. Now, if you have any pattern suggestions, shoot me an email or leave me a message down below, or maybe put it on the Ravelry page. I'm thinking a doodler shawl, and I have some Malabrigo in this color. And I'm just wondering if this might be pretty for that braid that goes across the doodler and the little strips in between. Because there is, well, I don't know. Tell me what you think. I would love to get this color here, but that's a very saturated color. And that's the thing about these yarns. The color, the dyeing is incredible. Now, my screen's kind of blowing it out a little bit. It's much prettier in real life. Oh, there's the brown. So that's one of the things I got for my birthday. So that's my acquisition. Next up, so the last time we were together, we talked about the Christmas socks. And I told you that I wanted to knit this pattern by Rachel Coopy for Christmas. It's the Fred and George socks from the Harry Potter not so official or unofficial knitting book. So I kind of went crazy sewing this week. I made this project bag. And I love this yarn. I mean, not yarn. I love this fabric. Sorry. It's a little crinkled there. I love that. So not only did I stop there, I also made a couple needle cozies because I really like to knit my socks with double point needles. Usually. Sometimes I do circs, but I really like these. And I didn't stop there, but I made this one. So, what I want to talk to you guys about is I would like to see if anybody would like to participate in a Christmas sock knit along with me. I've had 2 people tell me they would, and I know things are going to get hectic around the holidays, but I would like some company. I think it would be so much fun to have other people to knit with me. So if you can come join me, let me know down there, because if you come along and if you want to join, today I am going to give somebody one of these cozies. So in your comment down below, I would like you to tell me if you've ever had a pair of Christmas socks and describe them. I'm also going to put a thread up in Ravelry. And which one of these would you like? The whimsical Christmas scene or the polka dot peppermint one with the pink inside? So let me know. And I just would really love to have you guys along. So I also made a bag for my mittens, because Ellie's club is, my goal is to knit 5 mittens before Christmas, and I will be gifting some of those to friends and family. And I didn't stop there. I told you I went on a big sewing spree. I used some scraps to make this cute little pin cushion. This is one of my favorite patterns. It's Little Bites, and I knit this one. And I filled it with crushed walnuts, which you can get at a pet store. I think it's actually for lizards. I may be wrong on that, but anyways, that put me in the holiday spirit. So please think about coming to join me on the knit along. Let's see. I have one other thing. I want to answer a question. Hold on a second. Diana. Hi, Diana. Diana knit my chili pepper socks years ago. And that is a pattern that I've been meaning for a very long time to revise and rewrite. So she probably knit it in its roughest form. I will be rewriting that, and actually I'll think about it. Anyways, Diana asked me this question. She said, "Your knitting is beautiful and you seem so accomplished. What led you to the Master's Certification Program?" Well, first of all, Diana, thank you. I am honored that you said my knitting is beautiful, because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist and I just always feel like there's room for improvement. I am a perpetual learner. I like learning, I like researching, and early on in my knitting, I started off big. I wanted to knit big projects, complicated projects, and I did not have the skill set to do that. So early on, probably within the first year of knitting, I did a big blunder. I wanted to knit one of Alice Starmore's fisherman sweaters, and I did. I knit this beautiful Inishmore. Now, you may ask, why is it a pillow? It's a pillow for a very good reason, because I didn't know anything about gauge. And so I just knit it with the needles that she said to knit it with. and it turned out huge. Now my husband is an extra large man. He's 6'3.5". I tried to give it to him, but the sleeves were too short. Did I know about how to lengthen the sleeves? Nope. Did I know about how to lengthen a sweater? Nope. So I turned it to a pillow, and it's beautiful. But I just realized that I needed to learn some things. And about that time, this was pre-Ravelry, I was reading on a girl's blog, and she was talking about, I think it was probably the Vogue knitting program that she was working through. And it was really intense. And I looked at that, and it was way more than what I wanted. And then I found another friend of mine, blogging friend of mine. She was working through the Master Knitting Program. So I just went to the site and I looked at it, and it looked really appealing because it starts out with very basic things, the first level, and the huge thing is gauge on the first level. And it other things you learn in the first level are decreases, increases, when and why to use which ones. You learn about how to, in ribbing, how to do an increase, like you have a ribbing, and then a pattern will tell you increase so many stitches across the length, but it won't tell you lots of times where to put them. Well, you learn those kind of things because you have to do the research, and they have very specific questions that they ask you to answer that help you learn. So anyways, that is how I went about doing it. It is a lot of hard work. It's not for everybody. But if you like to learn, if you tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist like I am, it might be a good program for you. It doesn't really get me anything other than to say that I'm a master knitter. There is a famous master knitter. I don't know if you guys remember her, and I'm going to draw a blank on her name, but she was in the Indiana Jones movies. I'm drawing a blank on her name, but she was the co-star with him. And she's a master knitter, and she has gone on. I think she's on the New England coast, and she designs incredible garments that people pay a lot of money to get. So anyways, other than having the title, it wasn't about the title for me. It wasn't about becoming a master knitter for me. It was just about getting skill sets to help me in my knitting. And I really enjoy it. You've been reading my blog for a long time, and you know it's taken me a long time because I will work on it and then I'll stall out and then I'll work on it again. But I have a goal of getting level 2 finished by the end of the year. And then I'll have to go through the process of doing all the resubmits. And also you need to have the kind of personality where you're okay with some constructive criticism. So anyways, that's about it for today. Thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, and then you will get an alert of when I put up a new video. And if you like it, give it a thumbs up. And please join us. Please join me on the knit along. And come on over to Ravelry and we can talk. Thanks. Bye.